The term phrogging is a slang term that refers to the practice of sneaking into someone's home or private property and living there without their knowledge or consent. Phrogging is often done by people who are homeless or seeking a place to stay without paying for it, but it can also be done by people with malicious intent, such as burglars or squatters. Phrogging is illegal and can result in criminal charges and/or civil penalties. It is a serious violation of personal privacy and safety. One of the first cases of phrogging that comes to mind is Mauricio Damian Guerrero, a man who made headlines for his alleged crimes related to an OnlyFans model from New Hampshire. Guerrero is a 20-year-old man from Bensalem, Pennsylvania, and according to the news reports, he had developed an obsession with the model whom he met on OnlyFans. He went to great lengths to track her every move, including acquiring her keys to make copies of them. Guerrero then reportedly broke into the woman's house, where he hid inside of her attic and secretly filmed her while she slept. The woman, only identified as NR, claimed that she did not know that he was in her attic and definitely had not given him permission to be there. Allegedly took videos of the woman sleeping naked without her consent and stole items such as underwear and makeup from her home. Investigators found a tile tracking device in Guerrero's possession, which they believe he used to track the woman's movements. Guerrero was charged with 4 counts of burglary and released on a $2,500 cash bail, despite the prosecution's wishes for him to remain in custody. The specifics of Guerrero's motivations and mental state are unclear, but his alleged actions have caused harm to the victim and have highlighted the dangers of online stalking and obsession. The incident has raised many concerns about the safety of individuals who work in the adult industry, particularly those who use platforms like OnlyFans to connect with fans and customers. Some have also pointed out that that incident highlights the need for increased security measures and protection for sex workers. As of the current date, there have been no more updates on Guerrero's legal case or any additional charges that may have been filed against him. Another dark case of phrogging happened in Honolulu, Hawaii, at the home of James and Brittany Campbell. The bike parked outside of their home alerted them to the fact that something was wrong. The family had been away from their Honolulu home for nearly a week with their 2 young sons. September 20th, 2019, they went back home and discovered something awful. James attempted to open the front door of his house, but was unsuccessful. Inside, a stranger was pulling it shut. In the TV show Phrogging, Hide Her in My House, James recalled this encounter in an interview. There's a man peeking through the door. He's trying to hold it shut, and the man says, "This is not your house," just very calmly, and I was just floored. When Brittany dialed 911, James managed to free the man while protecting himself with a sledgehammer. James also mentioned, "We notice he's wearing my clothes." After the intruder had entered the front yard, things became increasingly chaotic. According to Khon2, the man, identified as Ezekiel Zaya, 23, was taken to custody by authorities when they arrived. The nightmare, on the other hand, was just getting started once he was removed. The inside of their home was trashed. Pots and pans were piled on top of each other. All of James's musical instruments had been removed from the living room, and their bedroom was a complete mess. The next discovery was much more upsetting. One of their old laptops had been used by someone to record disturbing diary entries and family information. All of these typed notes were called the Omnivore Trials, a rehabilitation for rat-like people, James said in his interview. Brittany noticed knives that had been laid out next to the computer. Additionally, she discovered a typed manifesto detailing the Campbells' gruesome surgical plans, which included sexual reconstruction and hand transplant procedures. She also found a nude video that the intruder had made on her laptop as well. "The guy had been sitting naked in my chair. That's disgusting," she says on the series. "I just felt terror. The dog barking, a computer's webcam turning on in the middle of the night, doors that were left open or unlocked, and other strange happenings in the house in recent months were suddenly viewed with fresh horror by the family." Police arrived shortly after and arrested Zayas for burglary. According to court documents, Zayas was let out on supervised release, pending his trial for the burglary charge. However, he was arrested again for an incident at a Buddhist study center in Manoa, Hawaii, and was sent to the Oahu Community Correctional Center in Hawaii. While in custody, Zayas allegedly beat a fellow inmate to death on August 31st, 2020. He was charged with murder and pleaded not guilty in the circuit court. The murder charge marked another dark chapter in his criminal history. Ezekiel Zaya's story is one of strange and unsettling behavior, from breaking into the home of James and Brittany to plotting to perform surgeries on inmates, and finally being charged with murder. His criminal history is one of the most bizarre and shocking in recent times. We live in a world where expectations of privacy are at an all-time low. A home is often where we feel we can close the doors to prying eyes, let out a breath, and be our unapologetic selves. But what happens when those eyes don't stop at the door? When they move in? When they become your silent, captivated, and uninvited audience? To be closer to family, 20-year-old Amber Dawn found herself living alone in a one-bedroom apartment in Enumclaw, Washington, only 3 blocks away from her brother and sister-in-law, with a beautiful view of Mount Rainier from her balcony. Being on the top floor, all that was above her was an attic, with a small trapdoor in her bedroom ceiling connecting her home to it. Following a day of unpacking, Amber turned off her music and got into bed, where she heard footsteps above her. Clear, distinct footsteps. This being a new home, however, Amber gave the benefit of the doubt, reminding herself that new homes are often full of new noises, and this could even be her own act of imagination. She made a mental note that she would address it with the landlord the next day. After bringing her concerns up with staff and being met with explanations such as squirrels or raccoons, Amber chose to believe them and carried on with her life. She was self-described as meticulous. Amber knew the contents of her cupboards and kept track of all of her groceries. She began noticing over months that food and drink would go missing, not often enough to raise any alarms though. She played it off. It could have easily been her brother who had a key to her apartment, or perhaps it was just plain exhaustion from working multiple jobs and was causing her to forget. She confronted her brother over the phone and again went back to her life with her cats and a newly adopted German Shepherd puppy. Amber was called home one day by her landlord due to her bathroom flooding. She was keeping her puppy in there during working hours, as she was still being house trained. So she came home as soon as possible, only to find that the puppy had been placed safely in the sink. Too small to jump in there herself, and the landlord denying that they had done it. Amber's suspicion about it all began to rise. 6 months had now passed in living in her new home, and despite the noises, Amber found comfort in knowing that family was nearby. She had moved to a small and a safe community. Most of her concerns she was able to write off as logical explanations, though she would soon later say deep down she knew something was wrong. She didn't want to believe it was real because she didn't believe it herself. Amber found herself sick one day and stayed home for the first time since she'd moved in. Around 7 o'clock at night, while watching television, she heard a loud thump in her bedroom. But like anyone who's a pet owner out there, she attributed the noises to the pets and didn't think much of it. After her shows had ended, she decided to take a bath. Bathing is often a point of relaxation for people, an intimate and vulnerable part of a person's day, often used to unwind, to quote-unquote wash the day away. Having had a day of not feeling well, Amber had the lights off and lit a candle. As she got into the tub, she noticed the hatch in her bedroom ceiling was open. Time came to a crawl. She sat in the tub for what felt like minutes, as what she saw pulled all the puzzle pieces together. The footsteps, the food, the drinks, the doors, the puppy. Think about this for yourself. Put yourself in her position. What would you do? All those noises that you'd attributed to normal things, logical explanations, but now you realize that they weren't. You realize that there was someone living inside your house, someone alongside you, someone you didn't know was there, but they knew that you were there, watching, waiting. Amber wasn't alone. She hadn't been alone since she moved in. Surprisingly, Amber remained calm at an impressive level, knowing the person could only be hiding in one place, and that was her bedroom closet. This being 1995, before cell phones were in everyone's pocket. She had resolved to make it to her landline phone to call her sister-in-law for help. She continued to maintain her calm, as to not to alert the person inside her closet. Seeing herself in the reflection of the mirrors on the door, knowing that they were right behind them. She continued to go over the details in her head, to reassure herself that ultimately the person didn't seem to mean any harm. But they had at least 6 months of access to her and her home. Not once they'd come out to hurt her. They even saved her puppy. But they were cornered now, and who knew how they would react if she confronted them. She found a hammer for protection and contacted her sister-in-law when she arrived home, who quickly told her to get the hell out of there. Hammer and puppy in hand, she walked out of the apartment and down the steps, all the while hoping the intruder wouldn't come after her. Thankfully, she made it to safety and went with her sister-in-law to call 911. When the police arrived, the intruder was gone, but evidence of their stay remained. Amber moved out the next day. Now married with children and living in Illinois, Amber Dawn still remembers the incident vividly. She has learned to believe in herself, to trust her instincts, and suggests that you do the same. And thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something about these strange cases of people secretly living in other people's homes. If you want more true crime content, if you want more tragedy and the occult content, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any more of my future episodes. Don't forget to leave a comment of what you thought below as well, and maybe even give me a suggestion of what you'd like to hear in the next episode. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.